People say that I'm so controversial, but I think the most controversial thing I have ever done is to stick around.
Hi everyone. I don't usually make this kind of video, but I decided to make this one and leave it here on record so we can come back to it in the future and see whether it turns out to be true. As the title of this video suggests, Madonna's biggest problem is simply being alive. It's interesting to analyze the type of hate Madonna receives, because most of it has political motivations as a backdrop. From that branch out ageism and misogyny, which are basically byproducts of the kind of worldview that tends to hate Madonna. In other words, none of this is particularly surprising if you're paying attention. The reason I think history will judge her differently is because the moment she's gone, countless things that people currently dismiss, overlook, or take for granted will suddenly be celebrated, analyzed, and documented. Take live pop entertainment, for example. A huge part of what modern pop concerts are today can be traced back to the Blonde Ambition tour. Now, Broadway-inspired concerts existed before Madonna. Liza Minnelli had already incorporated theatrical influences into her performances. Madonna wasn't the first person to do that, but she was the first to package those ideas into a mainstream pop spectacle and take them around the world on a massive scale. That absolutely raised the bar. And that's the point. The Blonde Ambition tour became the formula everyone chased. It became the blueprint for the modern pop spectacle, whether people like it or not. The show divided into acts, the changing sets, the props, the amount of performers on stage and the way they interacted with one another, the storytelling. She took inspiration from legends who came before her and transformed it into something that reshaped the modern pop concert, a model that the industry still follows today. She built a fountain that everyone now drinks from, and I think the same thing is happening with aging. Traditionally, artists reach a certain point in their careers and become greatest hits acts, and I have the utmost respect for the legends who chose that path, or eventually ended up on it. But usually, after a few decades, the focus shifts almost entirely toward nostalgia. New material becomes less important, less impactful, or sometimes less interesting even to the artist's own fan base. That's a consequence of the industry's unfair reality, which often forces older artists, even when they're tired of repeating themselves, to keep touring endlessly to survive, because they don't profit from their catalogs. Madonna has had the rare ability to remain a current artist, continuing to reinvent herself while maintaining her freshness. And because of that, it's possible that, in the future, audiences will be more welcoming toward new material from older artists. We're already seeing some of that happen with artists in their 40s. Back in the 1980s, Tina Turner's global explosion became an example of how age does not matter. But generally speaking, by the time artists reached their 40s, especially female artists, they were already considered done. But even with examples as powerful as Tina Turner, Cher, and other legends, this reality still has room for improvement. And that's where Madonna comes in, doing what she's always done, challenging the reality imposed on her.
You know, with the wave of censorship being, and the conservatism that is, sort of sweeping over the nation, I thought that there was going to be a problem.
She's creating a new model for what it means to be an older artist in popular music, and I think that influence will become much clearer with time. Future generations of veteran female artists will benefit from the space she's helping create right now. The irony is that people probably won't acknowledge that influence until she's gone. That's just how society works. If Madonna were simply another legacy artist, or as overrated as some people claim she is, we never would have gotten something like Hung Up. She would have spent the last 2 decades performing greatest hits tours, singing like a virgin and Vogue in their original arrangements, avoiding risks and giving people exactly what they expected. And trust me, she would have sold a hell of a lot of tickets doing that. But instead, as always, she chose the road less traveled by. She went from being the queen of reinvention, the artist who established the concept of eras that now dominates pop culture, to reinventing something else entirely, aging itself. That's why so much of the criticism sounds limited. She doesn't age gracefully. She has no class. She doesn't act her age. These criticisms are all based on a concept she's actively moving away from. And mind you, Madonna was already receiving ageist criticism when she was only 35 years old. I'm pretty sure she's been thinking about this subject for a very long time. This isn't something she's improvising now. People who don't understand what she's doing keep returning to the idea of aging gracefully. But that's exactly the concept she's challenging. She's not trying to redefine graceful aging. She's trying to redefine authentic aging. If she spent her entire career refusing to fit into the boxes society placed in front of her, how ignorant do you have to be to think she'll start doing that now?
Don't sit there like some silly girl. If you wait too long, it'll be too late. I'm not telling you something new. There ain't no time to lose. It's time for you to say.
And then there's the criticism that she lip syncs. First and foremost, Madonna can do whatever the hell she wants to. Second, her recent performances feature a combination of live vocals, real-time auto-tune, and a loud backing track. And yes, I've noticed her voice isn't as resilient as it once was. That's natural. But what about artists who barely sang live throughout their entire careers and are still celebrated for it? I'll refrain from mentioning any names because I'm not looking for trouble. The thing is, Madonna never set out to become a vocalist in the mold of the vocal trinity or the great ballad singers known for technical excellence. That was never the point of her artistry.
I know that I'm not the best singer, and I know I'm not the best dancer, but I'm not interested in that.
Yeah,
I'm interested
exactly.
in pushing people's buttons and being provocative and being political.
What often gets lost in these conversations is that she spent decades performing live, imperfections and all. The Virgin Tour was fully live. Who's That Girl was fully live. Blonde Ambition was fully live except for Vogue, Express Yourself, and Where's the Party? Most of her tours have been predominantly live and raw, with special mention going to Sticky and Sweet, which was carried almost entirely by live vocals. And if you analyze it objectively, she's probably done more live singing throughout her career than some artists whose entire reputations were built on vocal excellence.
Like a virgin, touched for the very first time. Like a virgin.
I'm an audio engineer. I can't be fooled when it comes to lip syncing. Some artists I genuinely love do it. In fact, some of them do it so well that most people never notice. They'll record playback vocals using the same microphone model they use on stage, so the tone matches perfectly. The microphone will switch on and off automatically depending on which sections they choose to sing live. Most people don't hear those details. I do. But that's a conversation for another day.
Love is all we need. Everything I give you, all comes back.
Over time, Madonna started relying more on real-time auto-tune, and the backing tracks have become louder. Fine. But why is the scrutiny around Madonna so intense? Because she's worth chasing. That has to mean something. The truth is that Madonna's critics have always been one of the forces that helped elevate her to a level of cultural relevance that no one has been able to replicate. Madonna is irrelevant, yet ever since she took the world by storm, the conversation has constantly been about who the next Madonna will be. Madonna is terrible, yet fans of other incredible artists often spend more time comparing their favorite artist to Madonna than talking about their own artist's achievements. Take Janet Jackson, for example. Some fans insist on calling her the Queen of Pop, either to provoke Madonna fans or because they believe recognition attributed to Madonna should belong to Janet instead. But why? Queen of Pop isn't an official title. It's simply a label that became associated with Madonna through popular culture. Janet Jackson has more than enough achievements, records, and influence to be celebrated on her own terms without needing to inherit a nickname associated with somebody else. Madonna is supposedly finished, washed up, over. And yet every time there's new content about her, new photos, videos, or official releases, an incredible amount of people feel compelled to leave comments telling everyone how much they dislike her. Why? Because if they did the same thing to somebody who was actually irrelevant, nobody would care. That's the contradiction. People spend an extraordinary amount of time talking about Madonna because Madonna is enormous. The obsession itself is evidence. If she truly didn't matter, nobody would feel the need to remind us every day how much she supposedly doesn't matter. That's what happens when you're powerful. Why do some people spend so much of their time talking about Madonna, criticizing Madonna, obsessing over Madonna? And honestly, one of Madonna's most underrated talents has always been her ability to upset stupid people. I think many of the things people criticize Madonna for today will eventually be viewed very differently. Not because the facts will change, but because she won't be here anymore. And when that happens, many of the qualities that are currently mocked, dismissed, or misunderstood will suddenly become worthy of celebration, analysis, and historical recognition, just like what happened with countless artists before her. Madonna is one of the greatest cultural phenomena of all time. She's a legendary performer. Her shows are historic, bold, and unforgettable. Her record sales are historic, and the achievements and records she broke are remarkable. Even if other female artists eventually surpass all of her records, as we've seen happen in some cases with Taylor Swift and her incredible career, that doesn't take away a single bit of Madonna's cultural impact. If anything, it adds to a long chain of achievements that were made possible, at least in part, by her influence. Madonna was someone who repeatedly put her own career on the line to stand up for what she believed in. In doing so, she helped create opportunities and set examples that continue to benefit artists today and will keep doing so for generations to come. The problem is that stan culture has made a lot of people lose perspective. Fans get insecure when their favorite artist's numbers aren't good enough to win arguments online. And when a newer artist breaks a record held by an older one, some immediately assume that means the newer artist is more important or more culturally relevant. But the truth is, Taylor Swift herself, for example, wouldn't agree with that mindset. Your favorite artist probably wouldn't agree with it either, assuming they are able to think logically. So, to wrap things up and go back to the title of this video, public opinion is flooded with hypocrisy. Artists who died as victims of bullying, ridicule, and media sensationalism are now remembered as legends who left us too soon, often by the very same people who were throwing stones at them when they were alive. A particularly emblematic example is Amy Winehouse, because we can actually go back and read the internet comments from that time. We can see how people treated her online as she was dying in front of the entire world, and no one could stop it. And nobody involved had the decency to allow her to go through it, away from the public eye. Maybe some people thought that once the media stopped controlling the entire conversation, things would get better. But what we've learned is that the media was often just doing its job to give people what they wanted. Even today, with the internet driving so much of the public discourse, the same kind of absurd behavior continues. Because in large part, that's the audience the media was writing for in the first place. But all this noise of our time has an expiration date. The impact of artists like Madonna doesn't. And yet, while we still have her with us, we don't appreciate her enough. On July 3rd, just 2 weeks from now, she's giving us Confessions too. At 67 years old, she's still delivering new eras, new concepts, new experiments, great music, and continued artistic evolution. Madonna understands that in times like these, people need to be brought together again.
Hi. As you may have noticed, I did not narrate this because it would take a hell lot of time. But anyway, my comment section is not a fucking democracy. If you talk shit about Madonna, you will be banned. So you will respect her and give her her flowers with a velvety voice, okay? That's it. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this, please subscribe, watch my content. I got some shows, some fan edits, and some stuff that I think you will like. I don't profit from that. The owners do, but anyway, I love doing that. So please check out my channel. I hope you like it. And that's it. Bye-bye. Lots of love.